Ellarigu Namaskara. A very good evening to each one of you. On behalf of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we welcome you all for this exclusive session on labor policies. The BCIC expresses its thanks and acknowledges the confirmation of Dr. Manjunath, Additional Labour Commissioner, Department of Labour, Government of Karnataka, for accepting our invitation to address our members on this exclusive session. Thank you very much, sir. The session is organized under the aegis of Ease of Doing Business on the theme Start to Sustenance Expert Committee and HR and Women Empowerment and Leadership Expert Committees. For the kind information of our members, the Ease of Doing Business Expert Committee is chaired by Mr. M.N. Vidyashankar, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka, and co-chaired by Mr. A.V. Srinivasan, who is the CEO of Mayban Engineering Technologies. Our HR and Women Empowerment and Leadership Expert Committee is chaired by Dr. Augustus Azaria, who is the Vice President, Employee and Labor Relations, APMEA Region, Kendrick, co-chaired by Lavanya Pasicias, who is the COO of Zivame, and mentored by Mr. B.C. Prabhakar, President, Karnataka Employees Association, and Mr. Parmeshwaran, who is the Director Corporate, Toyota Industries, Engine India. Thank you very much, sir, for structuring the session. I also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Murli, who is the Vice President of Toyota Susho India Private Limited, and who is also the advisor of BCIC. A little of the housekeeping to our participants. We have muted the audio and video for all the participants. That is to avoid any disturbance. We request our participants to queries in the chat box. The last 15 to 20 minutes is open for the Q&A session. I now request Mr. Vidyashankar to take it from here. Thank you very much once again on behalf of the Chamber for all of you for making it convenient to attend this session. Over to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Rupa. Very good evening to the August members present, virtually, of course. And a very warm welcome to Dr. G. Manjunath, Additional Labour Commissioner. Just to bring it to the notice of the August members, we have close to 245 plus registrations for this evening session.
I'm told 300, sir.
Oh, 300, great.
Yeah,
so,
300 is the latest.
Okay. So this is the highest registrations we have received during this year. I think all of you will agree with me that investment and investment decisions are made basically on overall business climate, which include factors like infrastructure, power facility, talent availability, etc. But labor is the most important visible factor of production. So the overwhelming response that we have got from the August members in BCIC is number one, because of the fact that labor is the most important visible factor. And secondly, in fact, equally importantly, I would say it is the presence of Dr. G. Manjunath, who is a storehouse of information. He is a repertoire of entire knowledge on labor policies, covering the entire gamut of labor and labor-related issues. So thanks very much, P. Manjunath. Once again, I would like to be in the midst between you and the August audience, because a lot of people have lots and lots of questions and lots of suggestions too. What we are planning is maybe in the days and weeks to come, we will have one more half-a-day session with you and Mr. Harish as also Secretary Labor. It will be a hybrid session depending on the convenience of the other members of PCIC and the HR Empowerment Committee. We will definitely go ahead with that second session also. Thanks very much once again, Dr. Manjunath, for gracing the occasion, and look forward to you enlightening on some of the more important labor policies currently governing the manufacturing and the production sector in the state, and look forward to a very active interaction from the August audience. Over to you, Rupa.
Thank you very much, sir, for your perspective. I now request Mr. Murli to introduce the speaker, sir. Over to you, sir.
Murli, you are on mute.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Rupa. And I have to acknowledge Mr. Diaberi IAS, who has stood up in connecting with Dr. Manjunath. And just to give you a brief about Dr. Manjunath, Dr. Manjunath is presently the Additional Labour Commissioner, Industrial Relations, Child Labour, Government of Karnataka since June 2020. He served in many senior positions in Labour Department, such as Additional Labour Commissioner, Administration and Accounts, Director of Karnataka State Labour Institute, Government of Karnataka, Welfare Commissioner, Karnataka Labour Welfare Board, Joint Labour Commissioner and Joint Secretary, Karnataka Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Board, Deputy Labour Commissioner, Belgaum Region and Bangalore Region 1, Deputy Labour Commissioner, Publicity and Statistics, Department of Labour, Government of Karnataka. He has presented numerous papers on labour laws in national and international conferences, seminars, and also few research papers are also in progress. Academically, he started his career with BA and then holds a MA in economics, and he has done his master's in women's studies. He holds the PhD from National Law School of India University, Bangalore, and is a double gold medalist and first rank holder in Karnataka literature from Bangalore University. He has been awarded with many national and international fellowships like Regulating Decent Work, Fellowship by International Labour Organization, Geneva, Switzerland. He is specialized in law against sexual harassment, individual relations, industrial relations, and labour law jurisprudence, informal labor and social security, corporate social responsibility, etc. He has taught labor laws and industrial relations for graduate law students at National Law School of India University, Bangalore. He has trained and mentored over 10,000 HR managers in corporates on prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. This is all about Dr. Manjunath. I now request Rupa to take on the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I now request the chairman of our HR and Women Empowerment and Leadership Expert Committee, Dr. Augustus, to set the context. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rupa, and warm welcome to everybody, especially our speaker, Dr. Manjunath. We are truly delighted to host you here, sir. And I want to start with a disclaimer by saying that the time is short, so we're keeping this as an awareness session. A lot of you have questions that are deep and insightful, and I'm going to assure you that each of your questions are going to be answered, even if we are not going to have enough time, but you will get a response in your mailbox if we don't get to it in this particular program. And also the overwhelming response that we have received for the program got us thinking to look at formulating or putting together a more intensive half-a-day or one-day program that covers everything, from an operational standpoint, conceptual standpoint, to what are the other areas here from a process and policy standpoint too. So we will come to that. But firstly, we all wanted a change to labor laws. Right from the time, at least I started off working and things like that, we all said, hey, these labor laws are a bit too difficult. For the services industry, it was formulated for the manufacturing industry. It was pre-colonial, then post-colonial amendments, but it all caters to a different time and age. And therefore, everybody wanted change. Everybody wanted a review. And we started getting amendments to various laws every now and then. But still, it wasn't enough to grow the economy, to generate more employment, and to create a harmonious workforce. And therefore, the progressive labor laws that we are going to see now as four came into being. Okay, and how they came into being also goes to point out that various industries and their sector-specific organizations appealed to the government. They sat side by side with public policy makers. I'm lucky to count myself among them, to help the government and influence the government on the pain points that we are facing in these labor law situations. And we also came up with various anecdotes that were the pain points for us. And therefore, the government definitely, different governments took a view, and finally we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, where they said, okay, now we will amalgamate all these 28 acts and statutes into 4 broad laws. And there were a lot of noise around it, comments around it, support for it, and also criticism around it. Okay, all in the right perspective to enable that we got the right labor law ecosystem. And some also said that, okay, instead of taking 28 books to school, I'm now going to carry 4 books to school. All right. So that was about subsuming it and making it simpler and consolidated. However, the industry continues to have certain concerns. All right. What are those concerns? The cost of employee benefits. My labor cost is going to go up, and therefore my end product is going to be non-competitive. All right. It's going to be expensive. 2, additional compliance burden on my people, and the labor cost, like the increased gratuity which will be entitled even for the fixed term employees, was a concern again raised by the industry. Then the fear also that there will be proceedings for prosecution on second time non-compliance. So the industry was wondering, I thought we will have some self-certification and things like that, but now there seems to be some additional scrutiny on this. And the inspection policy. The inspection policy now, would there be prior approval or some intimation given to establishments, or are they going to continue to be surprise raids, and will there be a greater inspection raj that will come about? This is another concern that the industry felt. Then from a employee benefit standpoint, we said the eShram portal, and how the eShram portal can provide benefits, especially to the interstate migrants workers, and we're all dependent on various interstate migrant workers. And there have been times where wrong things have happened, some have died, and therefore how do the benefits actually go to them? We need to have a very simple system to ensure that we take care of our people also. And then we didn't have to look very far. We have our own BC Prabhakar sir, who's our mentor, and the leadership in BCIC, along with their advice to bring Dr. Manjunath. And Dr. Manjunath, you have heard about him, but you have to hear him. And once you hear him, I will assure you that every single concern that you might have on this topic will be allayed. So without much ado, Dr. Manjunath.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Augustus. At the outset, I would like to thank Sri M.L. Vidyashankar, former ACS, and Sri Dyaveri, former Labour Secretary, Govt of Karnataka, Sri Murali, who introduced me, Sri BC Prabhakar, and all the August gathering, which is now listening to me for the next 30 minutes. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me for having invited to address the August gathering on the latest labor policy and the reforms that has happened within the Govt of Karnataka. The entire theme of my discussion would revolve around ease of doing business, which is a central theme. So I have a structured presentation, about 15 slides, which I will take you through. Since the time is very limited and there was a plethora of labor law reforms in the recent times, it was very difficult for me to call out and bring to your kind notice the most important of them, which would ease the business, which would ease the returns filing, and which would also ease in terms of minimizing the inspections. So there is a structured PowerPoint presentation which I would like to share with you. Okay, so the structure of my presentations looks like this. Starting a business. So what exactly have the reforms been done in terms of starting a business? Then once a business has started, periodical returns would start. What are the reforms in terms of sending or submitting the periodical returns? Then I have something called voluntary compliance schemes, which has been introduced in terms of running through the business. Then we have business reforms action plan initiated by Government of Karnataka since 2017. Then I will be speaking about central inspection systems, the reforms which we are trying to bring in now, and the inputs given by Microsoft, EY, Teamblaze, and I was also part of the New Zealand government, which also suggested certain ease of doing business initiatives to the state of Karnataka. And lastly, about the new labor codes and the portals designed by the Government of India. Now, regarding registrations, licenses, and renewals, this is the starting point for any businesses. Any businesses should act instantaneously in no time, within a single day, they should be obtaining the registrations and licenses either under Karnataka Shops and Commercial Establishments Act or under the Factories Act or under the Contract Labor Act. This is the most enabling feature for any businesses to start a business. The registrations, licenses, and renewals should be instantaneous. So in that view, the Labour Commissioner had issued a circular dated 12/10/2017. This is the issuance of registrations under Shop Act within 1 day and accepting the single integrated returns online. So this is the 2017 circular issued by the Labour Commissioner that the registrations under Shops and Commercial Establishment Acts would be given within 1 day. Thereafter, there was an amendment to this circular during 8/8/2019, which told that there could be a single integrated returns applicable to 14 labor laws. So this circular, again issued by the Labour Commissioner, said that henceforth all the employers can submit a single integrated return under all the 14 labor laws to the department. Then there was again one more circular dated 2020-13/2020, which told that instant registration under Shops and Commercial Establishment Act would be provided to those who apply online. So I would like to bring to your consideration these three circulars issued by the Labour Commissioner. And lastly, I'm asking a question, the impact of these circulars. So what is the impact? Whether the Shops and Commercial Establishment Act registrations was instantaneously issued or whether it was done within 1 day, and whether returns, single integrated returns was done is the question which we will discuss later on. Later on, after these circulars issued by the Labour Commissioner, the Government of Karnataka Department of Labour itself came out with a unique notification which spoke about auto renewal. This auto renewal means under the Shops and Commercial Establishments Act, there is no need for the establishments to approach the department for a renewal. If they apply online and pay the fees, there would be an automatic renewals. So this was the auto renewals which was done. Further, government also told in a circular like this dated 26/9/2020 that there could be auto renewals under the 4 labor laws, that is the Shops and Commercial Establishment Act, Contract Labor Act, Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, and licenses under the Factories Act would be auto renewal. So these are the notifications issued by the government. And thereafter, the Industries and Commerce Department came out with a policy suggestion asking the BBMP, which issues trade license, and
Sir,
Shop Act registrations to be integrated.
Sir, can you move to the next slide, please?
This one?
No, this same slide is being there. You have to go to slide number 4. Now I think you are talking on slide number 4.
No, this is 5.
Oh, that means you skipped 5, sir. You have to select. You have to go to the next one, sir.
This is 4, which I spoke right now.
We are seeing only number 3 now. Murali-san, can you help?
This was 4.
Yes, sir, what we are seeing is that circular dated 12/10/2017. That's a slide. Slide number 3 is what we are seeing now.
1 minute,
You
sir.
want to page down, just press page down. Page down. Yes, we can. Yes. You're moving now. Yes, correct. Page down. Yeah, I think.
Shall I go ahead? This is slide number 5.
Yes, sir.
Right,
This is
sir.
the
Please go
final.
ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is about the Factories Act. Now, there is a notification which says that the factories licenses can be issued up to 15 years at a time, and it is optional. So the factories licenses, the establishments or the occupier can obtain a factory license starting from 1 year to 15 years at a time. And at the time of renewal also, you can opt for 15 years. All renewals under factories license is now auto renewed. So there is also now, you know, that women have been empowered to work around the clock under the Factories Act. Overtime has been increased from 75 to 125 hours, which now requires assent from the government. Then they have allowed third-party annual examination and certification of boilers through boiler operation engineers. This is something regarding Factories Act amendments and policy which has been taken up. Government had issued a notification dated 5/10/2016. This was regarding classification of industries to streamline and simplify the inspection system based on the risks factors, where they divided industries into high risk, low risk, medium risk, and a little bit of low risk, something like that. So this classification was very important in terms of the inspection systems which we designed later on. Now I'll come to this voluntary compliance schemes and reforms. These are a very, very important thing which I would like to bring to the notice of the August gathering. There was a government notification dated 16/9/2016 itself regarding the Karnataka State Self-Certification cum Integrated Periodic Return Scheme. You are able to see this notification?
We are able to see the slide, sir.
The notification. No, we are doing Factories Act now. Go to the next page, sir.
Page down.
Page down, sir. If you pay, that is why you have not actually gone to the presentation mode, but nevertheless, it's
just
okay.
Give me a minute, please.
Yes, sir.
We are now seeing a slide on voluntary compliance schemes reforms.
Which I explained, right?
Government notification dated 16/9/2016.
You're able to see this? And the
Yes.
notification?
We can't see the copy of the notification.
Oh, you can't see the copy of the notification. That is why I think it is all jumping up. Okay, leave it anyhow. No, what I was actually trying to do is I was trying to press on this link and I was showing you all the notifications. But now that you can't see the notification per se, I'll go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, sir. Please put it on slide mode, sir. It's fine, sir. Please put it on slide mode, sir.
So the government came out with a notification on 16/9/2016, and it was regarding the Karnataka State Self-Certification cum Integrated Periodic Return Scheme. This is what all the businesses are talking about. In fact, we have received several representation from various employers' body asking us to implement self-certification. Now, what is this scheme about which was introduced during 2016? The highlight of this scheme is that an employer's manual for 19 labor laws was published as a checklist in the website. And the employers who opt for this scheme, they would have been given a Carlin number, Karnataka registration number, through Karmika Sahayoga, which is now been seized at this portal. And there would be a sort of a self-declaration and affidavit to be submitted by the employers, which would be valid up to 5 years. And of course, there was a registration fee and a security deposit to be deposited with the Labor Department. And low risk industries and startups were exempted from inspection if they join this scheme. But unfortunately, if you ask me what is the impact, there were no takers and there was no follow-up by the department to implement this scheme in its earnestness. So the scheme is available even now, but not been implemented, and no follow-up or no takers for this scheme. So there is one more notification on 24/10/2017. This is regarding the Karnataka state third-party certification of compliances under
Thank
labor
you, sir.
laws. Yeah.
Thank you. We can see the full slide. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is a very important component in the labor codes, where labor codes also speak about third-party certification. So the highlights of this notification is that third-party agency registration is based on certain eligibility criteria which has been prescribed in the scheme, and there would be a third-party agency which would look into the labor regulation in the state of Karnataka. So third-party agencies would in turn appoint labor law auditors who would go to the establishments who come under this scheme. They evaluate the labor laws, then they submit the labor law audits to the department. So the validity of this scheme was 3 years from the date of joining the scheme, and there was certain registration fee and security deposit which the employers who wish to join this scheme. And unfortunately, again, there were no takers and there is no follow by the department also regarding popularizing this scheme. And I would like to bring to the August gatherings information that these two schemes are there in the state of Karnataka, which we could go through. Now, coming back to business reforms action plan since 2017, which Government of Karnataka is doing, the most important is about reducing the compliance burden. So the minimizing the regulatory compliance burden for businesses in Karnataka, the team leads had come out with an evaluation report about 12 line departments, including that of the labor department. So they went through 6 labor laws where there were 117 compliances required. So there was a lot of discussions and debates called by the C&I department and the officers from the Department of Labor and Factories and Boilers. We participated in these discussions and we ensured that this 117 compliances which they were mentioning would be brought to the minimum. So there were two phases in which this was done. One was the reduction of the compliances. Number one, digitization of the records, which we were doing, of course, for a very long time. And auto renewals, which I mentioned long ago about Shops and Commercial Establishments Act and Factories Act, where auto renewals were done, and inspections based on the third-party certifications and self-certifications. This was done in phase 1, and phase 2 was an important component under all labor laws, which Dr. Augustus was also mentioning, the decriminalization of laws. Of course, the labor codes talks more about the penalties and the provisions are very severe under the labor codes, which we have all seen it. And repealing of redundant acts was suggested by team leads. There were about 3 labor laws which they suggested which should be repealed, and Labor Department took it up. But there was some blockages by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Law, where they said that these labor laws can't be also suggested a usage of artificial intelligence and blockchains to reduce the compliance burden, and they wanted periodic regulatory impact assessments to be done and involve industry associations in this entire exercise of minimizing regulatory compliance burden, which we are rightly now doing. There's something also about a regulatory compliance portal which was designed and structured by the DPIIT Government of India, and this portal was to be used by the line departments and establishments to identify burdensome compliances, and the line departments were supposed to prepare an action plan for elimination of these compliances. So the details of the regulatory compliance board was to be monitored by the Chief Secretary and DPIIT. So the 3 labor laws suggested to be repealed is NFH Act, Karnataka Labour Welfare Fund Act, and Karnataka Subsistence Allowance Act, which they wanted to repeal, but the Parliamentary Affairs did not approve for the repealing of these 3 laws in the state of Karnataka. Something called, I think this is a very important affidavit-based clearances which Government of Karnataka brought in. This was a unique in the country itself. It was a single portal for all business licenses clearances up to 3 years, which was launched by the Honorable CM on 21/12/2020. I'll try to see. You're able to see the picture? Were you able to
No,
see the
sir.
picture?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, can't see
No,
this.
but presentation is with our administration, right? He can't show the picture, right?
Oh, okay, fine. So, the Honorable CM inaugurated this affidavit-based clearances, where businesses used to get an clearance of all the licenses and registrations from the line departments, and a single window approval from Karnataka Udyoga Mitra was sufficient enough for the businesses to start and run in the state of Karnataka up to 3 years. So individual departments' clearances was not required under affidavit-based clearances. So this was brought by the Karnataka Industries Facilitation Amendment Ordinances during 2020. So further, the government also brought out a notification during 9/1/2020, setting up task forces to implement the reforms and the procedures by the state government. So this was a high-level task forces which is supposed to look into the reforms and the procedures to be adopted in terms of ease of doing business. This is a very important component of ease of doing business, the introduction of central inspection system. So way back in 2017 itself, the Industries and Commerce Department came out with this framework for industrial inspection, and there was also a subsequent amendment dated 21/2/2019. These are all the government notifications which I'm trying to quote you, and the highlight of this central inspection system brought out by Industries and Commerce Department is that the three departments, Department of Labor, Factories Department, and Pollution Control Board, they should be conducting joint inspections based on random selection and risk classifications, which I mentioned earlier. So Karnataka Udyoga Mitra was to be the nodal agency for implementation and monitoring of these joint inspections, and inspections to be limited only to the checklist which has been provided on the portal. And there was an online submission of inspection reports within 48 hours, and the same inspector should not inspect the same establishment twice consequently. However, for surprise and complaints based inspections can be conducted only after permission to be taken from the head of the department. So there was also a sort of a report done by Ernst EY regarding Central Inspection Agency, which was a sort of an implementation guideline for the line departments. So they were reporting that the Central Inspection Agency should be the sole agency responsible for all the inspections that are conducted in the state of Karnataka. So there should be a direct reporting of all the inspectorates to CIA, synchronize all the multiple inspections, and they also promoted third-party inspections and self-certifications. So lastly, there was also a study undertaken by Microsoft Corporation, which submitted an application assessment report of all the online services that was undertaken by the Department of Labor on 4/3/2021. So it was a very dismal assessment report, which said that the applications that the Department of Labor used for online application is the overall score was just 35%. That is well below the expected medium maturity level of 60%. And they came out with a series of suggestions as to how do we improve our online services, which NIC has taken up of late, and we are trying to improvise on our online services. Coming to the new labor codes and policy, at this point of time, I don't think we have sufficient time to talk about all the 4 labor codes. Instead, I would like to say the actual position of implementation of these codes in the state of Karnataka. Regarding the rulemaking in the state of Karnataka, we have already prepared the draft rules for final publication on Code on Wages and Code on Industrial Relations 2020. So the Karnataka rules for Code on Wages and Industrial Relations is ready for final publication, but government is awaiting the notification by the central government to give effect to these codes, since central laws are also to be notified, the final notification is awaited. So we are waiting for the Government of India to give us a green signal to finally publish this to Karnataka rules. Regarding the rules pertaining to social security and occupational safety and health, the draft rules are ready for pre-publication. So it would be announced at any point of time in the next week or so, inviting the opinion from the public for their suggestions and for their comments, so that we can draft the final rules for the final publication. So this is the status of rules with respect to the code on wages. Lastly, I would like to talk about some of the initiatives by the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of Karnataka, where they have brought in a lot of online services and interventions to see that the businesses and also the workers, they use IT platform to raise their grievances and things like that. So eShram is one of the portal where the Government of India intends to have a national database for unorganized sector workers. And so far in the state of Karnataka, 32 lakhs workers are registered in this portal, and they are from the different sectors in the unorganized sector, including gig and platform workers, domestic workers, street vendors. So these are the migrant workers. So these number of workers are registered in this portal, and it is seeded with their Aadhaar card. Then we have a Shrama Suvidha portal, which is a one-stop shop for labor law compliance. This is again designed by the Ministry of Labour, where the inspections has to be conducted online. The inspection reports are to be uploaded within 24 hours onto the website, and further the compliances by the companies should also be uploaded. So this is a Shrama Suvidha portal which Government of India has designed, and they have asked all the state governments also to come on board, and Karnataka is set to be on board on this portal. Samadhan portal is again designed by the Ministry of Labour and Employment. This is with regard to industrial disputes. Henceforth, all industrial relations dispute, whether apprehended or existing, the parties should raise their disputes through this software application, and the conciliation, of course, there is no thinking as to how conciliation should be held, whether it is virtual or physical, but applications to the concerned conciliation officers would come online, and the conciliation process would be initiated after taking into consideration the complaints received through this portal. So these are the online portals designed by the Ministry of Labour and Employment, and this is the pictures of the initiatives taken by Government of Karnataka in partnership with the New Zealand government to some of the line officers regarding ease of doing business in the state of Karnataka. It was a 5-day intensive training program, which I was also one of the participants in this workshop. So with this, I stop here. My time is just completed with all the interventions which happened, which is very unfortunate. The session now, I think, is now open for discussions.
Sir, thank you very much for elaborating so much. And audience,
I'm Prabhakar. I would like to ask one question.
Yes, sir.
To Dr. Manjunath. Dr. Manjunath, see, what is the level of preparedness in the Labour Department, and any training program conducted for inspectors to make them understand intricate changes, specifically conciliation, inspection, strike, all these things? Is there any attempt made so far?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Attempts has been made with regard to empowering and capacity building the officers and also the inspectors with regard to not necessarily on labor codes, but on industrial relations, on conciliation techniques, negotiation skills. So these are some of the training programs which it is a continuous process. The Karnataka State Labour Institute has been able to provide a training program for the officers. With regard to codes per se, I think we have to go ahead with very serious types of inputs regarding all the 4 labor codes. I think we will be taking up, and already we have started. We have introduced and we have had discussions with our officers on most of the labor codes, and we have taken their opinion while preparing the draft. Regarding implementation techniques and other issues, I think we have to take up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me see if there are any questions. So, okay, there's a question from Alvin. The exemptions which the ITS companies have on standing orders, will it also continue when the new labor codes come into effect?
It will not continue.
What is your suggestion, sir? Should the IT sector once again appeal to the government?
They have to.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any further questions? Okay, one more question is here from Deva Ryan. Any idea of implementation date of labor codes as of now?
This is the question which every industry and everybody is asking about. The exact date of implementation is very clear. What I got from the Ministry of Labor and Employment is in the last VC we had with Secretary Ministry of Labor and Employment, they are waiting for all the state governments to finalize their state rules, because once the state rules are ready for final publication, the Government of India would announce the commencement of the labor codes, and they will publish the final central rules. So once these are done, once all the state governments are ready with all the state, with all the 4 state labor rules, so there would be a pan-India and a uniform date of applicability of the labor codes throughout India. So this is what they are waiting for. I think April 2020 should be the probable date.
Thank you, sir. So a very interesting question here, sir, actually. It says, it's from Rahul Jinodia. He says, what will be the impact of 4 workday week as compared to the current 5-day work week on the industries as well as the labor?
No, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, it says, what will be the impact of the 4-day work week? This is only a proposal we know, sir, as compared to the current 5-day work week that we have. Sometimes
no, it is not mentioned. No. Well, the labor codes doesn't mention anything like this. So I don't think I could answer this question.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So just as far as my knowledge goes, sir, I know that this is having a lot of traction among the industry, especially in the services sector. You know, if there is proposal for 4-day work week, but I am sure we will take that up in another forum for our members. Okay, I'm selectively picking the question, sir. Okay, Srilata Shankar asks us, please give your view on settling the final accounts in 2 working days.
No, what is it?
Full and final settlement in 2 working days, sir. That's the question.
Oh, that is a debatable question which has been going around. In fact, the other day, Mr. BC Prabhakar in one of the webinar, he also spoke about whether it is possible for the employers to have a full and final settlement within 2 working days. And what is this full and final settlement? He came out with his own suggestion. May I request BC Prabhakar to give his views on full and final settlement, which he was talking the other day.
In fact, it's under the wage code. Wage code says within 2 days, and the wage code pertains to earned wage only. So therefore, settlement of earned wage within 2 days, not the other gratuity and all those things. And the OSH code says leave encashment should be done within 2 days. So these two, leave encashment and earned wage. If it's done within 2 days, that is enough. That is the compliance, sir, not other things.
Thank you, sir. There is another question here. What is the definition of part-time workers as per labor laws in India? Are they eligible for all statutory benefits?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they are eligible. Part-time worker is a classification brought under Standing Orders Act. So apart from part-time workers, the newly introduced fixed term employment is also there under the labor codes.
Right, sir. Here is one more question, sir, and it is closer to our work from home. Any new rules or guidelines to be issued by the government on work from home or remote working? Question from Sundaramurthy.
No, I don't think the Government of India, Ministry of Labour and Employment is contemplating to bring in any sort of regulation with regard to work from home. But there are certain debates which I heard that the ministry is thinking about. But so far they have not circulated any such policy prescription for the state governments to come out.
Sir, on a related point, there was an advisory from the government, right, sir, that industries can continue to work from home. But again, the guidelines are not there, so every industry is following it as per what they believe, which should be 50% workforce or whatever the case may be. And I think there is a need for some guidelines, sir, that the GOK, Department of Labor, may want to introduce.
So this is the area which government doesn't want to thread, especially the Department of Labor, bringing in any sort of regulation with regard to work from home. See, COVID-19 is always is brought under Disaster Management Act. So the Labor Department doesn't have any say in bringing out such prescriptions under that act, because it is a generic act and it is only the deputy commissioners of the government who has to take a decision on this. If the Labor Department tries to bring in any sort of a regulation on this 50-50 or working from home, again it would cause some impediment and enforcing the workers' rights when they start working from home. We have seen, especially in the IT sector, the online sexual harassment issues has also come up. Many women workers have faced this. That is what we have read in the newspapers and in the media. So any sort of regulation on these issues would again become difficult for enforcement. So maybe we have to see this COVID-19 pandemic, how long it will proceed, or whether the government would think that it is an appropriate time to bring in some sort of a regulation where people work from home when they take such an option.
Sure.
In fact, it should be left to the policy of the companies. Any regulation will create a lot of problem. Inspector will start inspecting the houses. So industry should not ask for any regulation. It should be left to the policy of the government, policy of the companies, and they are following Shops Act, 8 hours work, weekly holidays, and minimum wage, everything they are paying. So we should not urge for any inspection.
Right, sir. Point taken. Thank you very much, sir. So basically, let our own policies define it, and I suppose that's what the industry is doing. But the question I think came more from there are certain grievances and things like that, and therefore you may need to have some kind of a framework. But I suppose the point is taken that we don't want any further regulations or guidelines to define how it is going. It's going pretty well. And like Mr. Prabhakar said, we have to look at formulating our own policies and guidelines for that. Point taken, sir. Thank you very much. I will just go to one or two last questions. There is auto renewals. Okay, I think we covered that. Sir, there is a question on retirement age for private industries. It is 60 years for private sector. Then is certified standing orders required to be amended?
So the retirement age as of now under the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act is 60.
Okay, sir.
That is the amendment brought by the amendment brought out by the government of Karnataka to the model standing rules.
Okay, sir. We will, if you can share that amendment with us, sir, we can share with our members. Thank you. Prabhakar, sir, you were saying something. Okay, here is one last question I'll take, and then we will go into the closure. Whether OT hours has been increased from 75 hours to 125 hours, whether the organization needs to apply for exemption for such extended hours.
Yeah, I spoke to Mr. Srinivas, the Department of Factories Director. He told this proposal was there, but it has not seen, there is no notification to this effect. The proposal is pending. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
So the federal report.
So related question, sir, whether the OT is applicable to all employees or only to workmen?
Workman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. In the interest of time, I can't go through all the questions, but we will address all those questions and send you the answers. Dr. Manjunath also has other commitments, we are aware, and therefore I would like to hand this over back to Rupa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Augustus. May I now request Mr. A.V. Srinivasan to propose the vote of thanks. Post his vote of thanks, we would like to play a small video, thank you video to the Honorable Commissioner, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Manjunath. It's a wonderful session. We can see the presence, and almost all the participants have stayed through the complete presentation. And it cannot be a normal thanks message to you. It was a wonderful presentation, very clearly defined PowerPoint presentation where people can also see, listen, and everything. So our topic was awareness session, and it was actually a very good awareness session. And it was wonderful to have you here. And looking at the response, as Dr. Agi was telling, we would like to have a workshop once again with you once again. So from BCIC, from both the Ease of Doing Business Committee and HR Committee, we would like to thank you from the bottom of our hand for joining us today and making a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. That is one. And also the second point is Mr. Dayabari introduced to Dr. Manjunath to us. He said Dr. Manjunath is the most appropriate person to speak on the session. Thank you so much, Mr. Dayabari. And also I would like to thank from our committee to Augustus to come on board because we were actually trying to do it from the ease of doing business. But I think we would have been totally clueless to take the complete meeting through for all the presentations. Thanks, Augie, and the complete committee members. I also would like to thank Murali sir for giving the introduction and the complete secretariat. And of course, as always, our thanks to BCP sir for being present and giving us the credibility for all the labor laws and things like that. He's always been a guiding force for us. Thank you so much for today, sir. Thank you once again, sir. Thanks a lot for joining us today. I sincerely thank all the members and participants who joined us today because this kind of participation gives us a lot of encouragement to continue with whatever we want to do. And the government has done a lot of work on this area. They continue to do, and we will try to share as much information as possible with all the members. Thank you once again for joining today. Thanks a lot.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please do stay with us, sir. We would like to play a small.
Yes, please.
We would like to play a small video on thanking the Honorable Additional Labour Commissioners.
Go ahead, Rupa.
Thank you very much, sir, for all of you for staying with us for this session. And we look forward to your continued support in our future sessions also. Thank you all once again.
Rupa, please do assure them that we will, as Agi said, we will contact them with the answers for their queries later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll share the response to all the queries which was posted to us. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Rupa.
Stay
Thanks a
safe.
lot. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Agi.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Farazan, thank you.
Bye, Murli. Thank you, Vijay Shankar, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Well
you
done.
all.
Well done.
Thank you very much, Dr. Augustus. Thanks very much.
You're welcome,
Yes, Shankar,
sir.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you very
you, sir.
much.
Srinivasan and everybody.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Lord. Well done.